and gentlemen, welcome back to Unarmored Talk podcast. I know it's been a couple of weeks. I am your host, Mario P. Fields, and today's guest is Faisal Sipra. What's going on, man?
Hey, good to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into our guest, I want to thank you all for supporting this podcast. And we've been over 2 years and running. Couldn't do it without you guys. Number two, our amazing sponsor, Robert and Miriam Norris. You guys always hear me talk about them every episode. Please learn more about them at takechargeyourhealth.usana.com. They keep me healthy, keep me looking good, according to my wife. And the only thing they don't help me with is growing. So I haven't found any medication to get taller, ladies and gentlemen. But now let's get back to another guest who is willing to remove his armor to help others develop an accurate way of thinking. And he's a Marine Corps veteran, served some time in combat, executive. He served some time in the executive world and private sector, entrepreneur, and more. Fez, what's going down, man?
Hey, we're just grinding through and making things happen.
Yes. Fez, please tell the listeners and viewers just a little bit about yourself and what you do, man.
Absolutely. So, just to pick up on what you talked about, yes, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, infantry, combat veteran, served primarily in 1st Battalion, 8th Marines, as well as 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. And I spent then about 2 decades in the corporate world, primarily on the sales side within the professional staffing and recruiting industry. And about 2 years ago, myself and a former client, we started our company in that same sector, staffing and recruiting. The name of our company is Ephesus Solutions, ESI. And we've got a pretty interesting story. We're growing and we're putting a lot of people to work, veterans especially, and we're growing our footprint right now.
Yeah, nice. 8th Marines, and I served in 3-8. So you took 1-8 and 2-8. I took 3-8, but we got the entire regiment right here on Unarmored Talk.
More than duty.
Yeah. Go 8th Marines.
Absolutely.
So how can people, before we get into the interview, how can people learn more about ESI, learn more about you? How can they find you, my friend?
Absolutely. So first of all, I welcome anybody who wants to link in with me. I can be found at Faisal Sipra, and then our company, Ephesus Solutions, which is quite a long one, EPHESUS Solutions, EphesisSolutions.com. And you can also find us on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I'll make sure those are in the show notes as well. So, folks, if you're on audio, you can go in the show notes and click on the links. And if you go on the YouTube channel, same thing, they'll be in the show notes and click. So here you are, right? Did some time in the Marine Corps, went forward deployed, got some combat experience, and then you transition out of the Marine Corps and somehow eventually become an entrepreneur. Let's talk about that journey and some of the things that you experienced, man.
Sure. So I was very fortunate that transitioning out of active duty, I actually had a former platoon commander who in 1-8 who had gone to work on Wall Street, and we stayed in contact. And so as I was transitioning in the Marine Corps, he kind of stepped in as a mentor to me, just kind of making sure that I was staying focused and working my way into a good career path. So I basically took a leap of faith and came into corporate sales in the telecommunications industry. I was fortunate that even then I didn't have a degree yet, that I had a hiring manager that really wanted to hire more veterans. So he loved the story. So he gave me a chance, and that set off almost a decade of progression in corporate sales within that industry. And then I made the move then into actually recruiting for that industry.
Wow.
Which I then spent another decade doing. And that's what basically laid the foundation for the company that I started along with my partner, 2 years ago.
Wow. And it's interesting too, the latest statistics says about 60 to 80% of job opportunities are found through networking. And here you are. You're like, Mark, I didn't even have the degree, but it was through networking and that demand for the veteran skills. So let's talk about those skills. A lot of times I believe, even in my part-time position, as a Department of Labor facilitator for TRS, Transition Readiness Seminar, what I believe is a lot of folks who served in the military believe, especially infantry, we'll just say infantry because that's where you served in. They believe that they don't have skills that they develop in the military that they can transfer into the private sector. What's your thoughts, Fez?
So, I was guilty as charged of that myself. Once upon a time, I thought that, I needed to go into, something more hands-on, something more physical, which are great careers, because I didn't know what those skills I had from the infantry would translate to. But once I got an opportunity, was able to break through and get that first job, I started noticing all around me that the things that lacked and the things that were setting people apart and making them successful, things that people had gone through many advanced degrees to learn and years of experience, the bell went off one day, and I said, you know what? I learned all these things in the grunts. I'm talking about being on time, planning accordingly, being organized, doing those daily drills that keep you sharp every day. And I'd love to pick up on that a little bit later in the conversation if we have an opportunity.
Right.
And I realized that those things, that if I could just harness those things into my daily life, those simple daily disciplines that honestly I think we take for granted sometimes, especially those of us who just did one enlistment, those are really the things that can set you apart. And those are things that will prove very quickly to those around you that you are reliable, that you are trustworthy, and that you are someone who embraces those qualities of that we talk about in our leadership traits, dependability, enthusiasm, etc.
Right. And those soft skills, those human skills, like you said, you looked around and you're going, wait a minute. I don't need a doctorate degree. What's in demand is, can you show up to work? Can I trust you? Can you plan and during crisis? Can you create opportunities in a turbulent world? Which leads me to my next question for you. I've read some articles about some very things, some very successful decisions that you made in your company during some very challenging times. You created some opportunities during crisis moments. Talk to me about that?
So when we started the company, we had already made the plan to start it before all of a sudden our world with the pandemic. And we wondered, a couple of weeks into this, did we just make, one of the worst, career or, but we quickly, but that's the other thing that, the core teaches us is, you always have to find a way into breach. If you can't go this way, maybe you come in that way. So my partner and I, who to his credit also is an amazing business mind, we both realized that, okay, the traditional way we've done business doesn't exist right now. But what does exist? Let's find out what does exist. And we realized that there was a window of opportunity while many of our big competitors that otherwise would have probably swallowed us alive, they were off kilter. They were in the fog of war, if you would.
Right.
And we had that opportunity to seize that and look and say, okay, well, they're figuring themselves out, deciding, are they going to go through layoffs? Are they going to work remote? Or are they going to shut locations? We have an opportunity to go after everybody and find out, what's important to them. And one thing we found very quickly, that there was an opportunity right away to, give companies the resources they need to make sure that they could build their technology to support a remote workforce. And that was something we both had a background in, but we were able to do that. And then just one step after, one foot in front of the other, know, and I guess it was very much like, in boot camp at the School of Infantry, where in those first few miles, it just doesn't seem like you're going to make it. But after a while, you like you said, you got to keep that enthusiasm, stay focused, and stay and know what your objective is. And that's another thing that goes back to, the core is we always know where we want to ultimately land. We know what the mission is to accomplish. So no matter how difficult it gets, we know how to keep ourselves grounded and keep ourselves back on track.
Yeah, and I like how you talk about we're essentially folks managers across the industries were reacting to this external unplanned, unimaginable pandemic, right? External thing that happens. Now here you guys, instead of reacting, here you guys go, all right, this is what we know. This is what we don't know. Let's focus on the known and let's get aggressive with finding some opportunities during this crisis.
I go directly back to a lesson I learned in my time in combat, which was in Desert Storm, the first Gulf War. And I watched an interview some years ago with, General Colin Powell, and he kind of talked about the role of Marines, and he explained that, look, here we had the fifth largest army in the world, the Iraqis, that had been totally put off kilter from the air campaign. They didn't know what was going on. They weren't moving around, and they didn't know what to expect. And that's exactly what the Marine Corps did. The Marine Corps said, you know what? They're expecting us to come from the coast, so we're not going to do that. They're not expecting us to come up through this lane in the numbers we did. They're not expecting us to come in as aggressively and as planned. But the other part of that is that every day for months and months and months, we constantly sharpened our sword. We constantly rehearsed. I think that's something that I have absolutely tried to apply in business, is that you can't have a win every day. There isn't going to be that excitement of a big deal or a big meeting every day, but you have to go back almost to like that daily 7 every day, those basic functions of just keeping things clean. Early on in my career, I had the habit, which I learned in the Marine Corps, which is you don't end the day without just organizing your workspace so that you can come right into it and work again. It's kind of like turning in your gear and putting in a verse. And people kind of wondered, come on, why is? But these were just those basic disciplines that I learned that just helped me function better.
Right. Yeah. And training and development, especially in the private sector, the importance of training and development. And like you mentioned, even in the Marines, that constant training and development for the known and the unknown really paid off. And I love how you've taken that discipline and transferred that to the private sector. Like you and I talked about before the show, we can allocate corporate dollars to get you credentialed, maybe get you that master's degree or doctorate, but I cannot allocate corporate dollars to send to the University of Dependability.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So now during this transition, you transition out, you go into the corporate sector, you're in a C-suite team, then you become an entrepreneur with a partner. Any emotions of isolation, stress, depression, some things, days you woke up, go, what the heck are you doing, Faz? Any emotions, my friend?
Yeah. And, that's a great question. And I think I went through a cycle, which I got to believe that many of us do, who come out of that world and come into the business world, or really any other world for that matter. In that, I guess that cycle looked like, for a while, I'm good. I don't need anything. I got this. And then you do come to a point where you realize that, yes, you are to some degree disconnected from those that understand you and those that understand those things that may weigh on you from time to time. And that could be as simple as, when we lose a deal, for example, which will happen in business, we react differently than our civilian peers.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we just don't give up. We're still looking for an angle. We're still looking for a way around. Not everybody understands this. So I think the importance of that was really making an effort to stay connected with, those I'd served with or others that had served. And happy to say that over the years, I've seen more and more resources through the business world, veterans, to remain connected to one another and have that ability to fix that isolation issue, which does happen.
Yeah. Staying connected, making the choice, ladies and gentlemen. You guys heard Faz say it. It's choice and choosing to stay connected to your tribe, if you will, or to your colleagues who served, some veterans, and so on and so forth. I love how you said that, and I love how you talk about how you thought through it. You didn't have to. You could have went into severe isolation, my friend.
Right.
But how you said, okay, I'm going through this cycle. Let me choose to stay connected to folks, to include Mario P. Fields in 2022.
One thing I think we're taught very early in the Marine Corps, as early as being a PFC, is you ultimately are responsible for you. You're responsible for you. You're responsible for your gear, all the things that are expected of you. And I think that the Marine Corps has built its success around that concept, that if every individual is making sure that they are at their best, and the organization as a whole can be at their best.
Nice.
And so I think that the translation of that is that there's always going to be curveballs. There's always going to be curveballs. I was 2 blocks away from the World Trade Center in my sales office on the 26th floor on 9/11. When that happened, and I remember myself and another Marine, also a great entrepreneur, Billy Gibbons, who we both worked together, both Gulf War veterans. We managed to kind of of course, we were scared, we were confused, but just that instinct was able to kick in to say, okay, let's get everybody organized. Let's get everyone down the stairs. Let's get everyone out to the street, and let's figure this out. But I think so. There's that example of when those emotions kick in, those instincts that also have to kick in, because the only 2 things that we control is our own actions and our own attitude. We cannot control anything else. And I think that something I took away greatly from my time in the Marine Corps was that if you make sure you are always at the most ready you can be, and most prepared, and in the best, conditions that you possibly can be for a situation, then that's the best you can do. That's the best you can do.
Right.
If something doesn't go right, it should not be because of your lack of discipline and effort. Yeah.
And I like how you say, before you can take care of anybody else, your family, your coworkers, colleague, before you can even attempt to accomplish the mission, the goals of the company, your organization, you got to take care of yourself and focus on things you can control. And that's you and your thought process, your attitude, and so on and so forth. Fesh, wow. Looking back at your entire journey, how you thought through your emotions, the skills you learned, the experiences in the C-suite team and as an entrepreneur, if you had to pick one piece of advice to give the listeners and viewers, what would you give them?
I would say very, very simply, don't sell yourself short. If there's something that you believe you are going to be happy doing and want to do, go for it. But going for it means, again, leaning on your background. You have the discipline. Invest in the education, invest in the apprenticeships, invest, in having a good mentor. All the things that made you better in the Marine Corps, apply those rules in your business life, and you will absolutely get ahead.
Nice, wonderful. Well, Faisal Sipra. By the way, I love that name, and we can maybe build a product around that name.
Okay, all right.
I'll be your narrator. We can broadcast that product and sell it. But thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for your service. Simplify. Truly appreciate everything you have done and what you're doing in your community.
No, thank you very much for inviting me here today.
No, thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of weeks coming up. I'll see you guys with another amazing episode. But until next time, God bless everyone. Be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.